Welcome back to Park City Television's live coverage of the Sundance 2017 Festival. Now, of course, Sundance is known to push the boundaries and bring very political and very appropriate subject matter to the big screen. And I am joined by a fantastic group from Joshua, Teenager vs. Superpower. Now, you may remember some of these names from a few years ago when they dominated the headlines. And I'm joined by filmmaker Joe Piscatella and Derek Lamb and Joshua Wong. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about, I'm going to start with you, Joe, about the story behind bringing their story to the screen.
Yeah, I'm inspired by people who, really ordinary people who have to do extraordinary things in the face of bigger issues. And one of our producers, Matthew Torn, had discovered Joshua in a park when he was 13 years old, speaking on a microphone, and had the wherewithal to start.
13 years old.
13 years old. And he was very articulate, and our producer, Matthew, had the wherewithal to start rolling cameras. And he started filming and realized he was getting some great footage, and I got brought on a little later, and off we went to make this movie, unknowing all the twists and turns it was going to take in their lives.
So, Joshua, I have to ask, this all started when there was the threat that China would backtrack on its promise for some autonomy for Hong Kong and a more pro-democracy movement. Now, as Joe just said, you were 13 years old behind a microphone in a park. What inspired you to get involved in political activism in a country that does not necessarily promote individual responsibility in that way?
Now I'm a 20 years old university student, and I started involved in social movement since 13 or 14, and later on with the civil disobedience, Occupy action, and later on it led the new generation to change the society. But if you ask what's the starting point, I would say that Hong Kong is the place I born, I live, and I love. And while a lot of adults or even those teachers would say that being a teenager, you should study hard, focus on study, get good result in the examination, enter university, be a professional, and maybe in the future, while you get popular and rich enough, and you can change the society. But I just hope to through the umbrella movement and the anti-nationalization movement to let people to know that even young generation, high school students can change the society. So it just result in 100,000 people occupy on the street and to fight for democracy and against the interference and the threat of China to Hong Kong.
Well, and you really became one of Hong Kong's unlikely leaders, somebody on the list of China's most popular dissidents at a very young age. Now, Derek, how did you two get together and start working?
We're in the same college. We study together, and then we met in the Christian fellowship because we are both Christians. And someday he just invited me, hey, do you want to,
do you want to get involved?
Yeah, because we really care about the society things. In Hong Kong, there is maybe one college, maybe only 1 to 2 students care about the society. And it's quite sad if you talk about it. Your classmate, your teacher will laugh at you and say, oh, come on, be realistic, don't be so naive. But we have Facebook, and then we know, well, we have the
don't
same...
underestimate the youth.
Yes, we have the same opinion, so we meet up and we try to start everything from, 6 years ago.
Well, and I know that, personally, I first read about you in 2014 during the Umbrella movement and that whole, and I have to tell people, 2014 Time magazine, Joshua, you were on a list for Person of the Year. You were named one of the 25 most influential teenagers. You were on the cover of Time magazine's Asia edition, and then in 2015, Fortune magazine named you one of the world's 50 greatest leaders. How old were you in 2015?
18. Yeah, I have my birthday during October 2014.
So you made quite a prestigious list.
Yeah, so I have my birthday party in the occupied zone. And I just hope to let people to know that a lot of people around the world may just have the perception Hong Kong is a global financial center and people are just economic animal, only focused on the stock market, business, and the interest and how to gain the profit as much as possible. But I just hope to through our participation to let people to know that the young generation in Hong Kong, even until this moment, we can't get the chance to vote in the chief executive election, but we are ready to change and we're ready to fight for democracy and let people to know that economic, business, interest, or the deal in the market is not the only things that we're concerned about.
I can see why getting him behind a microphone, you just wanted to point the camera and let it start rolling.
Do a microphone or a bullhorn, and it just goes.
And he goes, and it's fantastic. Now, I have to ask, the timing of this, especially to premiere at Sundance and in this country, for political activism, for young people making their voices heard, it seems like perfect timing, really, to have this film show. How important is it for you to feel like you're bringing this audience to the youth of America to show what the youth of Hong Kong were able to accomplish?
That was the goal of the film. I mean, it was to show that one person can make a difference, a group of people can make a difference. When I was their age, I was told you had to be an adult to make a difference in the world. And these kids have said, I'm not going to wait till I'm an adult, I'm going to do it now.
I'm going to do it right now. And clearly it's worked out for all of you. So, you know, I'm sure you've read that Park City had a protest or a march on Main Street. It's happened all over the world. You've seen it in the media. But a lot of the people participating are very quick to point out this is not a protest against an individual person. This is really a march for ideas. How important do you think individual activism is when you're speaking to an American audience that may, you know, my generation, this is the first time we've seen something like this live. You know, we've seen it in our history books, we've heard our parents refer to it, but this is a lot of times the first people in this country have gotten into political activism in this way. What advice or what would you like to say to the youth of this country?
In the previous day, while United States have implemented democracy for a long year already, people may think that the only responsibility for them is to vote in election. But I think after last year election, and I remember last November I just visited to the Capitol Hill in DC after the day of election, and people shocked with the results, and being activists are concerned about environmental justice, LGBT rights, and those things. It seems to be the new administration not put in the high priority. And I just hope to let the young generation in United States to know that instead of only vote in election, activism, protest, and demonstration, social movement can really change the society. Don't underestimate the possibility for you to change in the future.
Joshua, Derek, Joe, thank you so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and congratulations on the festival acceptance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the film is Joshua, Teenager vs. Superpower. It is having its world premiere here at the Sundance Film Festival. We'll be right back after this.